Hello guys and welcome back to the channel. We're halfway to Halloween and things are still spooky. Today I wanted to talk about the time my knee exploded. Yes, I know, that's a sentence, but it's a true sentence. I will spare the gruesome details as I know some people have issues with that kind of thing, but I'll give the general gist of what happened and keep it PG on that because, you know, it's I don't want you guys to feel queasy or anything. But first, what are we drawing today? Okay, so in the back is the third prompt, which for this year's Drawtober challenge. This was a fun one. I also figured this is as good as a time as any to plug this in. I write and draw an industrial fantasy web comic called Harbinger. It's a series about two guys who met an untimely end and find themselves in the service of the gods in an attempt to earn a second chance at life. If you want to check it out, you can find it on Webtoon at the moment, and I'll leave a link in the description. Now, on with the video. So about 9 years ago, give or take, I got together with some friends from college. We were really into the wonderful world of airsoft and paintball. We even went out into the forest and whatnot in our city in search of like potential battlegrounds. Since we have a lot of forested areas here, we're not in short supply and just in events. You should stick to safe recommended playing locations. Don't do what we did. Not safe. Now that the legal advice is out of the way, back to the cool stuff. Obviously, I didn't care that much at the time about that kind of thing. You know, I figured that those things were kind of like to protect people around you and bystanders and whatever, but boy was I wrong. Or at least partially wrong. You see, we had this cool idea. Now, we were massive nerds, and then, you know, we were nerds who got fit and then decided, hey, let's run around and shoot at each other with airsoft guns. We had this cool idea that Risk was just not fun enough, airsoft was just not fun enough. It was fun, but it wasn't fun enough, and we wanted to add more depth to our matches. So I did the one thing that any rational man in my position could do. We fused airsoft with a board game. I went on Google Maps, looked for a screenshot of the area that we were going to be, playing in, photoshopped it into a proper map, created territories on it using different layers, color code and whatever, and put information, and it was a lot of work, but it was really worth it. It was so fun. So our group divided into two teams. We elected team commanders, and they would coordinate troop movements on the map every week and write down a series of commands and contingent commands. So if one failed, then you go to the next match this way and that way. Like there was a process of rules to follow, but once you followed it, it was really cool. And you would actually fight the battles out in person on location. So yes, we were crazy like that. We actually, every area on the map was an area you had to move to fight in. It was really in-depth, really cool, really fun. We had a lot of fun with it. Anyway, we got to our third battle of the day, and my team was doing quite well for being outnumbered, both on the map and in person. So half of our people didn't show up. I guess we just fought as hard as we could to make up for the lack of team. At some point, things got intense in the battle. My buddy Julian and I needed to get more aggressive in our tactics. So I channeled my inner FPS gamer and did what you should probably never do in a not real combat situation, and I left the safety of my naturally formed foxhole and charged towards the enemy's positions. One by one, I was taking them out, Julian covering my rear and my left flank. They were getting destroyed. Never saw it coming, thought we were gonna play it safe. Heck no. And then there was Adam. I ran up to the hole that he was crouching in, and our eyes met. I pointed to him and pulled the trigger, and then my airsoft rifle made the noise that I'm all too familiar with. It jammed. Now, I had no idea that Adam was himself reloading. So, being 8 feet from him and his high-powered carbine, I made the decision to turn and get into cover. I made it about 20 meters at full speed before I stepped into some mud and began my glorious melee combat with my arch-nemesis, the giant boulder sticking out of the mud, which I shall henceforth name Jerry. You see, I was going fast. I was going so fast that when I slipped in the mud, according to Julian, it looked like I had leaped in the air and soared about 10 feet. In reality, I was falling with tremendous style and trepidation. My knee met Jerry, and for the first second got very well acquainted with him before exploding. Now, anyone who has had an injury of any kind to their knees can attest to this, but it is terrible, terrible pain. So, here's the hard part. Explaining what happened without making you guys queasy. Essentially, after I hit Jerry, I yelled some obscenities, as one does, for about 30 seconds straight, then I passed out from the pain. Yes, I'm a tough bastard, but even that knocked me out for a moment, and I was really surprised. I think I was only out for like a minute or so, according to my friends anyway, but whatever. When it came to, I saw them all standing above me in shock, wondering if I was actually seriously injured. By this point, I was hit with a massive wave of adrenaline, so whatever else hits you when you get hurt bad enough. So I didn't really feel anything as I was coming to. I was just kind of numb. I was like, all right, cool, I'm fine. I guess I'm just lying in the mud, whatever. And they're there, they're asking me if I'm okay, Mike, are you fine? Are you okay? And I'm like, yeah, I'm fine, don't worry. It just hurt like hell. I remember feeling it hurt like hell, but I'm okay. It's all good. Let's get back into the fight. Let's have a good rest of our Sunday afternoon. It's gonna be great. Of course, a couple of them were not buying that since my pants on my left knee were torn and completely red. And I was wearing like green camo, so yeah, you could tell. Then I tried to stand up, and that's when it hit me. Gravity! Seriously though. There was a crunch and my leg just did not work and I collapsed again. I was thinking of moving the leg, but it wouldn't move. And I kid you not, I literally sat there and was like, huh, well shit. I think my calmness scares people at times, but like really it's just how I cope with trauma. My knee exploded. Crap. Huh, this is a thing now. Huh, fantastic. Screw my life. Sparing you guys the details, I did pull out my dagger, cut the pants, and see what the knee, and take a look at it to see how bad things were, and oh boy was that a bad idea. I saw things you should not be seeing outside of the body. Enough said. I remember there was a football game going on nearby, like a school near us, and I asked a friend to run over and get a first aid kit if he could, while a couple of my friends helped me tie a stick to my leg and carry me out of there. So eventually I get taken to the hospital and I sit there for about 11.5 hours in a wheelchair. I'm trying to remain positive, but I can't really move my leg. I feel it now, and oh boy, was that some pain. That was some of the worst pain I've ever felt in my life. Like it felt like being stabbed, but then having the object still in there and lots of throbbing, and yes, I've been stabbed, so I know how that feels. Story for another time. So I see the doctor. She spends some time looking for the tendon. That's all I'm gonna say about that, and attempts to repair me. She looks at me and says, well, you'll be lucky if you ever walk again, but walk it off, Mike. I was like, are you serious? Doc, walking's the problem. I can't walk. You want me to walk it off? How am I gonna do this? So, long story short, I get patched up, get driven home at 1 a.m., and I'm now faced with the 25 steps to get into my place. I had to pull myself up the stairs while sitting. Not fun. It took like 5 minutes to get inside. And it was cold, right? This was like November, so it was pretty cold. Gradually healed and walked off, I guess. I walked it off. After about a month, I was walking with a major limp, mind you, but walking. And after 2 years, I was sort of back to normal-ish. So that's how my knee exploded. And just as a side note here, doesn't it seem like whenever you get hurt, like anywhere, like people just home in on that? Like they accidentally touch those areas more? Like they'll bump into you or smack you by accident. And it's always the spot you get hit. Like you don't realize it, I guess, that they touch you in that way normally. And then when you're injured, it's just, you feel it like 4 times a day and you're like, ah. It's like it happened to me to the point I even collapsed at one time. Anyway, that's the video for today, guys. I hope you enjoyed the story time and didn't get queasy from the details. I did spare quite a lot of them, just in case. But I hope you did enjoy what I did share. If you enjoyed the video, give it a like, consider subscribing. And if you happen to like webcomics, consider giving Harbinger a look. Have a great one, and I will see you guys in the next video. Tschüss, meine Freunde.